Hey, Dave here from Powerwolf with another Drifter Dev Diary. We did it! We released the game and made it, and it came out and all that stuff, and we didn't screw it up. And yeah, I've kind of recovered a bit. It's like 2 weeks after release. But yeah, it was a really positive launch, exhausting. Man, making games is hard, but yeah, we hit like 500 reviews, 98% positive in the first week, which was awesome. So yeah, I thought I'd do it's like 2 weeks after now, but I'll do a bit of a post-mortem thing, talk about what worked, what didn't, I guess, and I'll show numbers, which I can do first, I guess. Show like the launch, kind of the week one numbers and like sales and all that stuff. So yeah, we kind of hit 500. I think we're almost up to 1,000 reviews like in 2 weeks, which is awesome, amazing. And like 500 or something consecutive players, which is also like way more than I expected. More than Crawl as well. Like our launch week did better than Crawl, which was crazy because I think like Crawl's kind of like that just kept selling, long tail and stuff. And so we've kind of been, that's been paying for us to make this game. And so it looks like this game will kind of keep that going. So me and Barney can keep making stuff and not have to rely on a publisher for funding, which is really good. Especially in a sort of it's what meant that we could make a point and click adventure. It's not the sort of style of game that publishers usually leap on. I'm not saying it's a dead genre. Depends how you define dead. No, there's more point and clicks now than there ever was, but there's still a bit of a stigma about them, especially when you're talking to publishers and press. Even it's really interesting. It's quite I'll do another dev diary some other time on that topic. It was quite interesting when I'm talking about the game to press and stuff like that, and other devs. But I'll jump in and show some launch sales, which would be this one. Yeah, so launched with 107K wish list. I think the last 7K just came in the last 2 weeks. I think just what was growing in hype, which is really cool. We sold 13,600 units in the first week, which kind of was a conversion rate of 0.13, which seems, I think to me that seems really, I think that's really good. It's so hard. You're looking at your wish lists before you launch, and you're you see different numbers floating around of sometimes they don't convert very well, or sometimes they convert much higher, but I was like, oh man, if we get 0.1, that's heaps. And we did, so it's awesome. So that translated to 221 USD revenue into Steam. That's net, I guess. Steam, which is after Steam's cut and stuff for us, is 154.5 K. And we always, for me it's I'm always translating things into Australian dollars, just because that's what we actually spend on the game. And so I wanted to talk about what that actually means for us in terms of how much the game costs and stuff, because sometimes you see sort of sales figures from devs, and they're always, I always find them interesting and a useful sort of touchstone, but when you don't know how much things cost, it's does that mean it did well or not? So for us, this did really well. So this figure here paid for our out-of-pocket expenses in week one. So I'll show you how much the project costs. Yeah. So by out-of-pocket expenses, I mean so me and Barney kind of pay ourselves a salary, and we have, there's other sort of expenses that Powerwolf has, like accounting and boring stuff, office, we have a hot desk at an office, hot desky stuff, super, I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff we pay, but not including that, and not including our own salaries, stuff that was specifically Drifter expenses. So the extra art, art we got done, Alex's animation, Matt's background stuff, music, VO, so casting director and voice talent, and then other, I think, is PR, marketing, expenses, like things like going to PAX and putting it on. Yeah, just random other stuff that is like directly paying for something that you need for the game. I guess printing t-shirts, something like that. I don't know. So that's basically means that the rest like after week 1 is like money that's supporting me and Barney kind of keeping making games and doing what we're doing and what we did. What we've been doing, like be able to make what we want to make. And so, the next kind of, I guess that would maybe be similar to like a publisher recoup or something. But yeah, for us, it's like, it's all a bonus really. Next thing, I guess, to hit would be like paying for our own salaries over the 6 years, which, adds up to quite a lot. We're paying ourselves pretty well, I think, like sort of similar to what we'd get, maybe not, but similar to what I would have been getting back at, if I'd kept my sort of job in a game studio like at EA or something. But yeah, I don't have to sit at a desk in an office and every day and be bored, which is good. And I think like projecting forward from week 1 sales, it seems like it's reasonable that in a couple of years that'll be paid for, and so the game will definitely be net positive and quite likely do really well in terms of profit for Powerhoof, meaning just giving us more runway to sort of keep doing what we're doing. And we're definitely kind of for us, it's like we never wanted to have a success mean that, now we can scale our company up big and get like a big neon flashing powerful sign and like hire 100 employees to start pumping out games and stuff and make bigger and better games. It was always like, if we can like, make enough to, if where we want to spend money on a game for voice acting or whatever it is, or collaborating with another artist, all that stuff, then we've got that there. But otherwise it's like, we just want to keep being able to make stuff that we want to make ourselves. Super positive. So I'll just quickly talk about, I guess, in terms of post-mortem stuff, what I think worked. And I think we sort of pushed a bit through a kind of ceiling that seems to sort of sales cap ceiling almost, that feels like sits on sort of traditional point and click adventures, at least from my sort of research and stuff. And so I kind of maybe talk about why I think, like how I think we kind of pushed through that a bit, and did really well, I think, compared to a lot of others in our sort of field or our genre, with a sort of similar size, budget, all that stuff. I guess, and like what I do differently or what we wouldn't do again, and which the number one is like, don't take 6 years, because like I die. I had to spend 6 years on a single project again. It's just too exhausting thinking about like how there's multiple more years before you get to like share this with people. And I think the main thing there is just like not having the production values pushing so hard. It's very easy to get into some sunk cost kind of, not really sunk cost fallacy thing, but like a sunk cost of like, we've spent so much time on this game, so every little scene, the next scene we do, we've got to make it at least as good as the previous ones, or we've wasted all that effort. And then that kind of goes forward to the next one and the next one, and then like sort of just creeps up the production value and the production cost and the time everything takes. And it makes the product better, I guess, but it's like probably 5% better and takes 3 times as long. So I think like there's nothing big I think we did wrong that like took a huge chunk of time that was wasted or anything. So it was the production was very methodical. It was very much like me by myself working chapter by chapter, plot, like building the game and sort of mock up, going back and getting each section tested and refined, then going into full production with Barney and the other artists and musician stuff, and building the final product out of each chapter by chapter, scene by scene. But each part, like every little bit along the way, just took a long time, a lot longer than I expected. So yeah, I'm very keen for, there's only so much lifespan you have, so there's so many games to make, so very keen to do some much more scrappier production styles and like get more stuff out there quicker. So that's I think that's really the only thing that was really a negative, I guess. And like the result is good, like the game's going to pay for itself. So it's, you know, financially, that's not a bad thing. It's just mentally, like, taking that amount of time. Yeah, so I guess next talk about what worked for us. And I think, like, I guess one of the things that helped us really push through and catch that, like, Steam audience, that core kind of Steam audience that we were going for, was, like, you know, the hook that we kind of came up with, marketing hook, that was then kind of a core pillar of the production as well. Something we can tell people, I guess, to get them curious and interested. And that was that it's a fast-paced take on a point-and-click adventure. That was kind of the little thing I kind of thought of, I guess, after thinking about how am I going to talk about this game at sort of PAX and, like, tell people about it, because, you know, you want to have an elevator pitch and you want to have a hook to draw people in and get them interested in your game. But for a narrative game, a point-and-click adventure, that's hard because the last thing people want to hear about when you're telling them about your game is the story or the lore. Like, you know, you start talking about, like, oh, you know, it's about this, like, race of elvish warriors from thousands of years ago, and then they go and blah blah blah, and you're like, whatever. I don't care. Tell me the game mechanics or shut up. And so, yeah, having I wanted, you know, a mechanical hook. You know, that's was a hard thing to think about. Because this, you know, the mechanics are point-and-click adventure game mechanics. Like, what is there to talk about? For our first game, Crawl, we had a mechanical hook, which was that it's a dungeon crawler where your friends control the monsters, and that's, like, I think what works nicely about that is it's kind of, you get a bit intrigued, like, it piques your curiosity because you're like, how would that work? Like, it sounds like it'd be fun, but how do my friends control the monsters? And I can say, oh yeah, you play the hero, and then if one of the monsters kills you, then they become the next hero, and you get to be the monsters and the bosses and everything. And, like, you know, you got somewhere to leap from because they're already asking questions. They're already interested. Plot isn't interesting until you invested in the characters, and you can't get people invested in characters until you know, in an elevator pitch, as you know, at the time. Yeah, so realizing that, I guess what made the Drifter a bit different, set it apart a bit from regular adventure games, maybe was that we're going for a fast-paced take on that, which came from some things that worked really well in the initial game jam we did ages ago, Peridium, where there was bits where the character was like, there was a bit where the character was, like, strung up by his neck. He suddenly, like, realized he was, like, being hung by his neck, and he had to, like, all you have to do is, like, click the knife on the cord to cut it or something. Like, it's one click. But we watched people playing it in Let's Plays, and they'd be really panicking, going, whoa, I've got to quickly do this thing. And so sort of realizing, okay, we can kind of use that as a way to have these kind of, I don't know, to add, like, excitement to, I guess, a genre which doesn't usually have, you don't think of it as being action-packed because there's no action. It's like, it's not an action game. You meant to think about what you're doing before you act, you know. So yeah, having that as a hook meant that, you know, that could be kind of followed through in marketing, and it worked really well with the sort of the art style we're kind of pushing towards anyway, which is that really kind of, we wanted stuff that, you know, like in a trailer or something, it's going to pick you up and shake you, you know, like slap you around the face, wake you up. So, like, the really high contrast, like super bright colors right next to the shadowy color, like, you know, shadowy darkness stuff. So it's really eye-catching, and the music, like, being really, like, pushed up high in the mix, big, like, synth stings, and not, basically wherever we can, not pulling punches. And so, like, the goal for us in our marketing is we want it to be, if we're showing someone something from the game, we want their response ideally to be fuck yeah, like that should be the response. I guess, you know, if you're making a comedy, that's not the response you'd like going for. But then I guess if you're making a comedy, you want the response to be that they're actually laughing while they're watching the trailer, because anything in between is not a really strong reaction. So that's what we were aiming for. And I think that I guess the inspirations, like stuff, you know, like John Carpenter movies and Stephen King and Michael Crichton novels and schlocky B movies and all that stuff that Tarantino's into, you know. I think there's a huge, like, that really resonates with a big audience, and it's kind of, you know, I'm that audience as well. But yeah, like, I mean, I think writing everything and taking everything from the perspective of it's a thriller, it's got to be like it's got to try and get you on the edge of your seat all through it, and that comes into the marketing. The trailer's got to, like, from the first second, it's like a flamethrower kind of effect happening or whatever, and stuff gets like more crazy from there. Same in the demo, like that first demo sequence, having the character get like murdered right at the start, like in the first 5 minutes of gameplay. That's like, I think, something that hooked people right from the start when they played the demo. But I mean, realistically, like, I think 10 to 20% of all their wish lists were people who actually played the demo. Like, there was always a lot more people who just like liked saw the hook that wish listed it without ever playing the demo. So yeah, it's I think having that kind of finding some sort of hook you can tell people about that's going to get them excited. I think that's what worked for us, and helped translate that into sales, and hopefully, and yeah, I mean, I think it seems to have like broken us through a bit, the kind of what feels like a bit of a sort of ceiling that you see with that kind of teams of our size, for traditional point and click adventures, which is really awesome. Like, it's the best thing for me is if I can, if our game is bringing more people to that audience. I love those games. I always want them to do well. So people like play this and like, I haven't played this kind of game before, and they want to play more. That's awesome as well. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I think that's covered all the stuff I was going to talk about in terms of how we did, and so yeah. I mean, I'll try and do a few more of these, I think, because there's a bunch more topics. There's so many things I did in the last 6 months that I'd never, or 9 months, that were a whole new learning experience for me to go through. Things like voice acting, and but there's things like sound design, and like we'll talk about plot development stuff in general, which is something I struggled with a lot, and sort of I figured some stuff out, but maybe it's just fun to talk about. Could talk about how adventure games are or aren't dead. That's always a good topic. Get clicks. No, I don't know. Anyway, if there's anything people want me to talk about, I don't know if I should still call them Drifter Dev Diary since the game's done, but I may as well. We can talk about it in the context of the Drifter. But anyway, thanks everyone for playing as well. Like, and checking it out and all that. All right, till next time. Bye.